Stop. Before you scroll past this, answer one question honestly. Why do some people, with half your talent and half your effort, end up with twice your power? You've seen it. The coworker who barely works but somehow gets promoted. The friend who says the right thing at the right moment and suddenly everyone trusts them. The leader who isn't the smartest person in the room, but controls it anyway. You told yourself it was luck, connections, nepotism maybe. But what if it wasn't? What if they simply understood something you were never taught? 500 years ago, a man sitting in a small Italian village, stripped of his political career, humiliated, exiled, picked up a pen, not to write poetry, not to write prayers. He wrote the most dangerous, most honest book ever written about human nature and power. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. And the ideas in that book, they didn't just survive 5 centuries. They're running your office, your social circle, your government, right now, today. Most people read Machiavelli and see a villain's handbook. They're wrong. What Machiavelli actually wrote was a warning dressed in strategy. He was saying, the world has rules nobody tells you about. Learn them, or get consumed by someone who already has. Here's what should genuinely unsettle you. The people using these rules on you right now aren't evil geniuses. They're just aware of how perception beats reality, aware of how silence can be more powerful than words, aware that loyalty is a currency, and most people spend it on the wrong people. You're not behind because you're weak. You're behind because you've been playing a game without ever seeing the board. Today, we fixed that. We're breaking down 7 psychological rules from Machiavelli's philosophy, not to make you cold or calculating, but to pull back the curtain on power, people, and influence, so nothing ever catches you off guard again. Before we go further, if this already has you thinking, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and ring that bell. Drop a comment below. And please, share this with someone who needs to wake up to how the world actually works. Don't skip any part of this video. Every rule builds on the last. Miss one? You miss the bigger picture. Rule number 1, control how people see you. Perception is reality. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. People don't respond to reality. They respond to their perception of reality, and perception can be shaped, managed, and strategically controlled. This isn't about lying. Every interaction you have is also a performance, not fake, but intentional. 2 employees, equal skill, equal output, but one speaks with quiet confidence in meetings, dresses slightly better than the occasion demands, never appears rushed, even when they are. The other, brilliant, maybe more talented, but they look stressed, over-explain, and second-guess themselves out loud. Who gets promoted? You already know. Psychologists call this the halo effect. One strong positive impression colors everything else about a person. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries before psychology had a name for it. He wrote about rulers needing to appear merciful and trustworthy, not because appearances outweigh character, but because in the eyes of the many, appearances are character. The crowd doesn't have access to your intentions. They only have access to what you show them. Practically, speak less but more deliberately. Enter rooms like you've been there before. In moments of pressure, slow down instead of speeding up. These aren't tricks, they're signals. And signals shape perception. The world will form an opinion about you whether you manage that process or not. Machiavelli's point? You might as well be in the room when it happens. Rule number 2, never show all your cards. Strategic silence is power. The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise, the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. Machiavelli The Prince. Here's something most people do compulsively. They overshare. Someone challenges their idea. They immediately justify it. They get good news. They announce it. They feel pressure. They process it out loud, in public, in front of exactly the wrong people. Transparency feels safe. But Machiavelli would ask one uncomfortable question. Who exactly are you being transparent with? In The Prince, one of the sharpest observations Machiavelli makes is about the danger of revealing your mind too fully. A ruler who broadcasts every plan, every fear, every intention, hands their opponents a map. And this isn't just about enemies. Even well-meaning people take information and use it to position themselves, to form opinions, to close doors before you even reach them. Watch the most influential people in any room. They ask more questions than they answer. They listen longer than they speak. When they do speak, it carries weight, partly because of what they say, but also because of how rarely they say it. Compare that to the person who reveals their salary expectations before being asked, who tells you their bottom line before the negotiation begins. Information is leverage. Give it away freely, and you've weakened your position without realizing it. The pause before your answer. The question instead of the statement. The ability to sit in silence while someone else feels the pressure to fill it. These aren't communication tricks. They're quiet power moves. The best kind. Rule number 3. Choose your battles. Not every fight is worth winning. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Machiavelli, The Prince. Most people, when challenged, fight. It's instinct. Someone disrespects you. You respond. Someone sets a trap disguised as an argument. You walk straight into it. And every time, you think you're being strong. Machiavelli would say you're being predictable. There's a distinction that rarely gets made between strength and reaction. Reacting to everything that provokes you isn't strength. It's being controlled by whoever is provoking you. A colleague publicly criticizes your work in a meeting. The emotional response. Defend yourself, match their energy, win the argument. Maybe you do win, but you've shown everyone you can be rattled. You've made an enemy more committed than before. You've spent emotional energy on a battle that moved you nowhere. The smarter move, you listen. Stay composed. Say something brief and measured. Let them look reactive while you look unshakable. Then, quietly, strategically, let your work speak louder than their criticism ever could. Machiavelli's lion and fox metaphor may be the most practical strategic thinking ever written. Raw force has its place, but it's the fox, perceptive, patient, trap-aware, that survives long enough to use it. Some arguments, when you win them, make you lose something larger. Some provocations are designed specifically to get a reaction, because your reaction is the actual goal. Recognizing that? That's the fox. Strategic restraint isn't a weakness. It's the clearest sign of someone who knows exactly where they're going and refuses to be detoured. Rule number 4, never depend on one person, one system, or one source of power. A wise prince must never be idle in times of peace, but must use that time industriously, so that when fortune changes, he is prepared to resist her. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. Here's a quiet disaster that happens to people slowly, almost invisibly. They build everything around one thing, one job, one relationship, one mentor, one skill the market currently values. And for a while, it works. Life feels stable, safe. Then it shifts. The company downsizes. The mentor leaves. The relationship ends. The skill becomes obsolete. And the person who felt secure realizes they weren't standing on solid ground. They were standing on a single pillar. Machiavelli wrote about the danger of borrowed power. Armies, support, strength that isn't truly yours. The moment that external support shifts its interest, you have nothing left. Translate that into your life. The employee with only one skill set. The entrepreneur with one client, generating 90% of revenue. The person whose entire emotional world is built around one relationship. Dependence, even on something good, creates a low hum of anxiety. Because somewhere beneath the surface, if this one thing moves, everything moves with it. People who seem consistently stable rarely have all their weight on one point. Multiple skills, multiple relationships, multiple ways of generating value. It's not cold calculation, it's structural wisdom. When you have options, you carry yourself differently. You negotiate from choice rather than desperation, and people feel that difference immediately. Machiavelli's point isn't paranoia, it's my intention. Ask yourself honestly, if this one thing disappeared tomorrow, what would I have left? If that answer makes you uncomfortable, that discomfort is information. Start building the second pillar, then the third, not out of fear, out of strategy. Rule number 5. Understand human nature before you try to influence it. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince. You can have every strategy in the world, every tactic, every plan, and it will fall apart, reliably, if you don't understand the people you're dealing with. Not people in the abstract, the specific human being in front of you right now. What do they actually, quietly, urgently want? What are they afraid of losing? Most people approach influence backwards. They focus on what they want to say, what argument they want to make. Then they're confused when it doesn't land. Real influence starts with understanding what the other person is already feeling, what they need to feel respected, heard, or secure, before they'll move even an inch in your direction. A manager wants their team to adopt a new process. Logically, it's clearly better. They present the data perfectly. The team resists anyway. Why? Because the manager spoke to the logic of the change without addressing the psychology of it, the unspoken fear of looking incompetent while learning something new, the quiet resentment of not being consulted, the loss of a familiar routine that felt safe. Address those things first. Make people feel seen before you try to move them. That's not manipulation. That's the most honest form of communication, because you're acknowledging reality instead of pretending it isn't there. Machiavelli's observation about love and fear gets pulled out of context constantly. What he appears to be pointing at, more precisely, is this: understand which currency you're operating in with each person. Some respond to warmth, some respond to boundaries, some need inspiration, some need security. Reading that correctly and adjusting isn't manipulation. It's emotional intelligence at its most strategic. Rule number 6. Timing is the hidden weapon nobody talks about. Opportunities come and go. The one who is prepared will recognize them. The one who hesitates will watch them disappear. Machiavelli on Fortuna and Virtù. You've had the right idea at the wrong time. Almost certainly, a suggestion that got ignored, and 6 months later someone else said the exact same thing and received praise. A conversation you delayed until the moment passed, a decision you overthought until the window closed. The idea wasn't wrong. The timing was off. Machiavelli built an entire philosophical framework around this. The tension between virtù and fortuna. Virtù means your skill, your preparation. Fortuna meaning the unpredictable current of circumstance. His argument: you can't control fortune, but you can be so prepared, so observant, that when fortune moves, you're already positioned to move with it. Two people go for the same opportunity, same qualifications, same desire, but one has been quietly observing, noticing when the decision-maker is most receptive, choosing the right moment rather than just the most convenient one. Understanding that asking for something right after a win lands differently than asking in the middle of a crisis. Same words, completely different result. Timing isn't luck. Timing is observation turned into action. In practical terms, learn to read rooms, not just people. Notice when someone is carrying stress before you ask them for something. Recognize when an organization is ready for a new idea versus when it's in survival mode. Most people move on their own timeline. Strategically aware people move on the situation's timeline. That shift, small as it sounds, changes how you're received, how your ideas land, and how much resistance you face. Machiavelli's message is patient but urgent. Be ready before the moment arrives, because the moment won't wait for you. Rule number 7, build loyalty carefully. Never take it for granted. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Niccolò Machiavelli, The Prince. Every rule we've covered: perception, silence, restraint, independence, understanding people, timing. It all eventually comes down to this: the people around you. Because no one operates entirely alone. Power, sustained over time, is relational, built in the spaces between people. And Machiavelli, who spent his life watching rulers rise and collapse, arrived at one of his clearest conclusions here. The quality of people you surround yourself with isn't separate from your success. It is your success, or your downfall. He wrote specifically about flatterers, advisors more interested in preserving their own position than telling the truth. A ruler who only creates space for agreement, he argued, is already on the way to failure, because flattery feels good. Honest counsel is uncomfortable, and over time, if you only allow what feels good, you lose the one thing that keeps you sharp: reality. The executive who fires anyone who disagrees, then makes a catastrophic decision everyone saw coming, but nobody said out loud. The entrepreneur is surrounded by people who celebrate every idea without pressure testing any of them. These aren't just strategic failures, they're loyalty failures. Real loyalty isn't agreement. Real loyalty is someone who tells you what you need to hear, even when it costs them something to say it. That is rare. Finding it, protecting it, and deserving it may be the most important work you ever do. There's a flip side worth naming. Loyalty isn't just something you find. It's something you build. Through consistency, through reciprocity, through showing the people genuinely with you that their investment is safe. The leader who only appears when they need something will eventually find themselves alone at exactly the wrong moment. History is full of powerful people brought down not by outside enemies, but by allies who quietly stepped aside. Build your inner circle slowly, not by collecting people who make you comfortable, but by finding people who make you better, who pushes back, who cares enough to be honest, who are still there when the situation isn't convenient. Those people are the rarest resource Machiavelli ever wrote about, more valuable than strategy, more valuable than timing, more valuable than any rule on this list, because without them, everything else is just theory. 7 rules, 5 centuries of philosophy, one central idea running beneath all of it. The world is not a fair system, but it is a readable one. Machiavelli wasn't asking you to become cold. He was doing something far harder, asking you to see clearly, to stop viewing power through the lens of how you wish it worked, and start understanding it as it actually is. That's not cynicism, that's clarity. You now know that perception shapes reality before facts ever arrive, that silence, used deliberately, carries more weight than most arguments, that choosing your battles isn't retreat, it's intelligence, that total dependence on anything is a fragility waiting to break, that real influence begins with understanding, not pressure, that timing can make the same idea either land or vanish, and that the people around you aren't just supporting, they're a direct reflection of your judgment. These aren't dark ideas, they're honest ones. The darkness was already there, in every boardroom, every social circle, every space where humans gather and power moves quietly between them. Machiavelli just turned the light on. Now you have to decide what to do with it. You can go back to navigating life by hope and assumption, or you can move through it with your eyes open, strategically aware, difficult to manipulate, and genuinely powerful. Not because you learned to be ruthless, because you learned to be awake. That choice has always been yours. Machiavelli just made sure you couldn't claim you didn't know it existed. The wise man does at once what the fool does, finally. Niccolo Machiavelli. If something in this video shifted the way you think about a relationship, a situation, a pattern you've been living inside without naming it, that feeling is worth something. Don't let it fade. Hit that like button. It helps this reach the people who need it most. Leave a comment below. Which of these 7 rules hit closest to home for you? Share this with one person who's ready to see the world more clearly. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because this is exactly what we do here. The next video continues this journey, and you won't want to miss it.